Just so we know, the empty chair between Sue and where Matthew will sit will be where we'll do public audience from. So, just to get that. So, Pledge of Allegiance, please.
My glasses.
Back there.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Recognitions.
All right, I get the pleasure of handling this one this afternoon or this evening. So, Christy Sistone, if you could stand up for a second. I know you don't love the attention, but I have the honor of presenting to the board and to the public tonight Christy Sistone, who is a speech and language pathologist in our 2023-2024 McGowan Teacher of the Year. So, congratulations. And just to say that, you know, one of the favorite parts of kicking off the school year, obviously, is our convocation ceremony. And the highlight of that ceremony is certainly, come on up, bud, you're fine.
Right next to Todd.
The highlight of that ceremony is certainly when our Teacher of the Year is announced, and it was no exception this year. Christy did a wonderful job addressing our staff with really an inspirational message around helping kids find their voice. And it was really powerful. I remember when we met this summer, and we always kind of collaborate and coordinate ideas, and you really did a wonderful job presenting that to everybody. The second piece that stuck with me is how inspired you are by how hard they work, and how in turn that inspires you to make sure you're doing your best each and every day for our kids. So you are a 30-year educator and a 15 or 16 in Simsbury, around then.
15.
At the elementary level and now at Henry James, and doing wonderful things for our kids. And I certainly look forward to spending the evening with you in November when they do the statewide ceremony and celebration. And thank you very much for all you do. You represent us very, very well. Thank you, Christy.
I just want to say thank you so much to the Board of Education. The simple word, the voice of children, is what I'm here for. I'm here on behalf of all the children that come through Simsbury Public Schools as a mom, as a community member, and as a speech and language pathologist. This is the finest school district I've ever been a part of. I've been a part of 4 separate school districts in my career, and the love, adoration, respect, integrity, responsibility, compassion, and pure joy our kids get each and every day from our schools, your schools, is really something to be in awe of. And it is truly my pleasure, honor. I'm humbled by this opportunity. Leaving children with a voice at the end of the day is my greatest charge, and our children are really the benefit of that and all of the services that we provide here. So thank you for the acknowledgement.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, we're going to do public audience now. So if there's anybody who would like to speak, 3 minutes. Anyone at all right now? Okay. All right, then we're going to move on to Board of Ed communications and committee reports. So, Matthew.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hello.
We're happy to have you, our newest student Board of Ed member.
Yes, I apologize for my partner's lateness. We both actually thought that the meeting was at the Board of Education.
It
That
happens.
might have been it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It happens.
The fourth meeting, the second meeting of the month, the fourth Tuesday, is always in a school.
Got it.
Okay.
All right, I'll continue with my report. So, starting with the high school, a few weeks ago, the juniors and seniors were presented the Choices Matter program by Ethan Fisher, discussing topics of drugs and alcohol, driving, and choices as a teen. Spirit Week is coming up the week of October 2nd with the homecoming dance and the first pep rally in a while on the 6th. PSAT Day is on October 11th, which the freshmen, sophomore, and juniors will be participating in. And the SHS musical has been announced to be Guys and Dolls.
Oh, fun. Oh.
At Latimer Lane, the 10th anniversary of the Latimer Lane 5K raised $4,000 with record attendance. At Squadron Line, the Squadron Line Carnival for grades 4 to 6 will be taking place this Friday. And at Terrafil, some interesting new modular classrooms are being placed in next week. Yeah, that's all for me.
All right.
All right, well,
Thank you.
welcome, and we look forward to you participating.
Yes.
So please, you jump in whenever you feel like you have something you want to share with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Mr. Burek.
For me.
All right, Lynn.
Just report at SBA, CABE and CREC, it's been a busy summer, a lot of training, a lot of leadership, but within CREC and CABE, all the school systems like ours started in August, beginning of September. God, it's hard to believe we've been in a month already. Things are going well around the state with all our districts, and the good news is that we learned at CREC was that Birth to Three has celebrated its 30th anniversary this year. Yeah, I didn't
That's
realize
great.
that. So we had a conversation around the table about that 30 years ago, and I wasn't at CREC then, but 30 years ago, when the state wasn't going to continue, CREC stepped in to say we are going to continue that program, Birth to Three, and of course, it was much smaller than it was today. So this year is the 30th anniversary. We're very proud of it, that program is still in existence and is such a level, helping all our students and families throughout the state. So happy birthday, Birth to Three.
There we go.
So that's the news.
Hi.
Hi.
I want to be thankful for that. Birth to Three was critical in my children's lives, so I'm thrilled that it's,
really-
I didn't know they were so new to it as being a correct thing. I also want to say thank you to the SEA for having a nice picnic and inviting us. It was really a fun day. It was beautiful out, which was something you don't see much lately. It's so rainy. But it was really nice to meet. It was a really banner year of attendance, so we met a lot of the new teachers, and I just really enjoyed being there, and I want to thank SEA for including us because it was nice of them to do so. Also, we had a curricular meeting on September 19th, and we were there. Sue Lemke presented our new state legislator mandates and some high school credit issues that came up. So currently, going forward in the graduating class of 2027, a half-credit financial literacy course will be mandated of all students. We have that in place right now.
We have
So-
a half credit or we have a quarter credit? We have a quarter.
We have a quarter.
Okay.
And so we will have a half credit, and we will make that, so that'll be an easy shift for us because we already have it in place.
Yeah.
All students all students and families are going to need to complete the FAFSA application waiver by what year, 2025?
Starting with the class of 2025. So
2025.
we'll learn more about that and ways that we can make that an easy process for us.
I also saw today that FAFSA is coming out with an easier FAFSA in December. So you can't do FAFSA, usually it's October 1st that FAFSA comes
Yeah.
out, that you do, but you're not going to be doing it in October. It's going to not start until December 1st, October 1st.
Just for this year.
December 1st, for this year, because they're rolling out an easier FAFSA. Shocking,
Hard
true.
to believe that.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I believe it when I see it. Easy is never equated with FAFSA. But, so that will be mandated, or you can sign a waiver if you don't want to, if you are not, but you have
But
to.
you have to
si-
acknowledge
You have to
you've seen
acknowledge
it,
that you
so
are
to
not
speak.
doing it, yes.
Got it.
And the capstone course is no longer mandated at the state level. It's still on our curriculum as a requirement, so we will be looking into that and what we do with that going forward. But that is a new change at the state level. And that was also, we came, Erin Nabu and Teresha Batchelor and Nancy Forsythe presented updates on our SEL K through 6 coursework. We are rolling out a pilot this year using a new curriculum called Everyday Speech, and it will provide content that will enhance the scope and sequence of our SEL, being more consistent with every school, and it will also meet the curriculum mandates of the state in their DESA requirements that we have to report back to the state on. So that is my report.
Just a question about the capstone not being mandatory after all the work we've done on that. Why the flip? Do we know?
I have my druthers that it became difficult for other districts to fall in line with that mastery-based credit. It should be no surprise that certainly we got ahead of it and we do it very, very well. And the committee, curriculum committee, has asked us to pull together some information relative to other districts and where our students are participating in capstone, so we can have a discussion about that.
Okay,
It's also, a lot of colleges look for it in their
right.
applications and stuff, so it's something to discuss a lot of points of it.
There's a lot of good value there, and
But
I'm not saying.
I'm sure it was very difficult for many districts in the state to be
To
able to
implement.
put it together, because it was rigorous for us.
I know, and we were really ahead of the curve a little bit, so.
And Tara, based on that curriculum committee meeting, I think you guys requested a full report to the board on the SEL piece. So we
On the
talked
pilot,
about
once-
that this morning, so that'll be
Yes.
at, I believe, the next board meeting.
They will come to the full
Yeah.
board and discuss the findings that they had with this new curriculum and see if it's good for the whole,
Yeah,
we'll take it further from the pilot.
Okay.
very good.
Thank you,
Thanks.
appreciate it. Jen?
I'm also,
Okay. Jen?
Nothing, thanks. Welcome back.
Yes, you can. Mrs. Upke. Thank you.
I have nothing else to share at this point.
Neil?
The Personnel and Negotiations Committee of the board has been busy already. So I want to thank Todd, Lydia, Jeff, and Brian, who have met several times over the first few weeks of school as we engaged with our administrative group in a successor agreement for negotiations. And I am pleased to report that last week we reached an early tentative agreement with that group. So it's not ready to be presented tonight because that group still needs to ratify the agreement. And then if we do that by the first meeting in October 11th, am I right on that? It'll be on that agenda, and if not, it'll be on the one 2 weeks after that. But we have reached a tentative agreement with their negotiating group. It's always work for our board to put in the evenings to negotiate that contract, so I want to thank those members. And it was really a very smooth, respectful, straightforward process, and all parties left the table feeling pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah, I want to just jump in. I didn't see it on the agenda, so I wasn't sure if we were talking about it today, but I have to thank that the union's negotiating group. It was a very cordial, I mean, everyone did a lot of prep work, a lot of work, but it was such a productive conversation where everybody said, this is where we want to get to, and we got there with some really good conversations. So I have to thank them. That made it a much easier process, and Neil as well for all of his work.
That's great.
Thank you.
Jason?
I have the safety inspection statement. So the Simsbury Fire Marshal's Office did annual inspections in all 7 schools in August, accompanied by our supervisor of maintenance, and all issues were corrected prior to the opening of school.
Nice.
It is the old mandated statement. We are back to business.
Amy? Okay. Mr. Curtis?
No, I would just say it's been an exciting opening, a smooth opening. I mean, a little heat, a little rain to put some schedules upside down, but we're off and running. Did want to mention that an upcoming meeting, it was a very heavy legislative session. I mean, people have discussed that in prior meetings, and what we're going to do is pick 3 or 4 of the main topics in new legislation that's been passed and do an overview with this board, because there's certainly policy implications around things like teacher evaluation, new mandatory kindergarten age. There's some significant air quality legislation and testing that was passed, and new bullying revisions in law. So a really, really heavy session, and I think if we can kind of do a little bit of a teach and an update to the board prior to the policy committee getting on it and churning, I think it'll be helpful for everybody in terms of what are some of the things we're going to be grappling with.
Okay.
All right?
I would appreciate that.
Very good.
So-
And to
Susan,
me,
for-
sorry, yes?
Sorry, just going back to what Matt was saying, at CREC last week, we talked about, yesterday, the session convened for one day, and Patrice McCarthy had mentioned that they were talking, and
Today was special session.
I'm sorry, today,
Yeah.
especially, I'm sorry, my days are.
That's okay.
But today, and some of the things that they are talking about bringing back would be, there's a SPED task force which is something that will be including gifted programs. There's going to be mandate review working group, and they're going to hopefully have the buy-in from the legislators on this one because they have not been able to successfully have that. And the third, which you'll hear a lot about, is certification council. So after 30 years now, they're going to look very carefully at the certification of certified staff. So these are just the three areas that are going to be brought forward sooner than expected. And
So that's supposed to come out of today's session?
they were going to be talking about it if today or coming before January. So these are the three things that were unfinished from June that they had been talking about bringing back in Education Committee in particular, but with full legislative support on some of these things.
Okay, great.
So,
Thank you. And for me, I just want to say, I was very happy to be at convocation, and Christy, you were fabulous, to echo Matt. It was such a joy to hear you talk about how much you love your work, and much appreciated that you are representing us this year. And I thought, once again, Neil did a bang-up job, although I would have loved to have seen the new staff put the capes on, just saying. I was discouraged. But I thought everything was terrific. You guys always do a great opening, and it's much appreciated. And I'm happy to be here for my last go-around. So you have me for 4 more meetings, 3 more after this. And we're going out with a bang. That said, we're going to move on to recommended actions. So approval of minutes of June 13th, 2023.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, second?
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
aye.
I'll abstain.
One abstention. Okay, terrific. Approval of the special meeting of July 24th, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of special meeting of July 24, 2023.
Right?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any? All right, and that moves forward. Personnel.
Yeah, we have a number, as we always do in this September meeting, that require your action, including a number of resignations. And we'll try to handle them all at once here, even though they have very different reasons behind the resignations. I'm going to mention a few of the more veteran members of our faculty who did decide to resign. I'll start, go down the list that you have in your exhibit. Linda Beers has been with us for a long time as a strings teacher at Squadron Line School. Linda's had an opportunity to join the faculty in the Glastonbury Public Schools, which worked well for her and both her teaching, and she's still a professional performer. So there's it was an opportunity for Linda to move to the Glastonbury Public Schools, and she took that over the summer. Stephanie Dunn has been a preschool special education teacher with us for 19 years. She had an opportunity in another district to become a BCBA, behavior analyst, and took that opportunity. We are really excited. We want to congratulate Angela Griffin, our Director of Music and Performing Arts, for the past 13 years, as she's kind of made a little shift in her career with a real passion for equity and inclusion work. And she has been named the new Director of Equity and Inclusion in the Naugatuck Public Schools. So congratulations to Angela Griffin, whose last day with us will be October 6th, a week from Friday. So very excited that she will have the opportunity to pursue that work as she wraps up her career. Andy O'Brien, as you know, who was our Director of Operations, sought an opportunity to get back to his roots of teaching and learning and got a job back with what he used to do. He's actually doing a little bit of teaching, and it's the administrative lead of like an agri-science program, which is what he used to do. So he's up in Region 7, I believe it is, and really excited about that opportunity, which started over the summer. So We have some other people who have not been as many years that are mostly opportunities to either work closer to home or they're moving out of state. And the motion covering all of it is a bit of a mouthful, but if somebody is willing to take it on, I'd ask you to put it on the table.
Mr. Tindall.
Sure, I'll try. Why not? I'll move that the Board of Education accept the resignations of Adam Colagrossi and Kennedy Quirk effective June 30th, 2023. Andrew O'Brien effective July 3rd, 2023. Linda Beers effective July 2023. Erica Pandolfi, sweet, effective August 7th, 2023. Alice Shortell, effective August 14th, 2023. Stephanie Dunn, effective September 29th, 2023. And Angela Griffin, effective October 6th, 2023.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion?
It's just, we wish everyone well. We hate to see people who go who have brought so much to us, and we are thankful for their gifts to our students. And we wish them well in their next iteration. That's all I'm gonna say.
Absolutely, there's a lot of, I remember Linda Beers, she taught my kids strings, and they were not successful, but she did.
Which, quite frankly, we should thank her for even more.
I think so. Maybe you should thank her.
Oh my God, no, I got the same thing at my school.
With that, can we get a vote, please, on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any, no opposed? Motion carries. All set there.
All right, we also have 2 retirements that require your formal vote tonight. So Kim Lawler has been a school psychologist here at Simsbury High School, a career of 30 years. I worked with Kim closely when I came here as an assistant principal, was a wonderful partner with some of our toughest kids here at Simsbury High School, and really just a skilled mediator of situations involving kids. So Kim has had some health concerns over the last couple of years. If those weren't there, she'd probably be doing a few more years, but at this point she thinks the best thing for her to do was to take her retirement at the start of this year. And then Sarah Sherry, who is our teacher of the deaf and hearing impaired, is at that stage of life where you can make that decision to retire because you're at the age and years of service to her, 18 years of service at Simsbury, but she has others, and the time came where that's the decision she made as the school year started. So we are in the search process to fill both of these positions, but we congratulate Kim and Sarah on their retirements.
Can I get a motion for that, please?
Move that the Board of Education accept the retirements of Kim Lawler effective September 28, 2023, and Sarah Sherry effective September 29, 2023.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much for all those years of service.
Yep, and then the last category that requires your vote tonight is the notice of the intent to retire. These are those teachers who give us advanced notice of their retirement. So at Henry James, the very important person of Mary Boucher, who is listed here as a reading teacher, but really before there were formal intervention programs in schools, Mary Boucher was the intervention program at Henry James. She has really been a key part of reaching all students at Henry James. She's currently 24 years. She will be retiring at the end of this year. So we've got Mary for the rest of this year. And then Leah Coe, who is actually our supervisor of the preschool special ed program at Squadron Line, is and has been with us here in Simsbury for 20 years, is giving us her 3-year notice that she will intend to retire on June 30th, 2026. So as usual, those require your formal vote.
Move that the Board of Ed accept the notice of intent to retire by Mary Bouchard Boucher, sorry. I'm not wearing glasses, I'm gonna put on.
It's okay.
Effective June 30th, 2024, and Leah Ko, effective June 30th, 2026.
And a second, please.
Sure, I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
And with the rest of the exhibit, if you haven't already taken the time, I hope you will. These represent the 27 new certified teachers that we have hired in this hiring season, stretching all the way from late April to the day before school started. And you can certainly see where their backgrounds are. I'm gonna show you a roll-up look at them in terms of years of service in their career and the education levels that they bring. I do wanna point out the important priority of the board that out of these, we did hire 4 new educators who represent teachers of color. So as our diversity of making a workforce that reflects different races and ethnicities continues, we felt pretty good about where we were able to bring in some new folks this year. And, you know, I hope you'll look at it because it's an impressive list. It was a lot of fun over the course of several months. It's kind of what is the most exciting part of my job, is to be bringing in these talented new people, and our principals do a fabulous job of, they start the process, the people that they bring forward to meet with Matt and I, it's really, I feel like we've all gotten on the same page and gotten to a great place with where our hiring processes are at.
That's great. Do we have any open positions left?
We have these couple of retirements from, we have
The ones we
these,
just approved?
the ones, the psychologist, the teacher, the deaf and hearing impaired.
Yeah.
And I'm about to post for a director of music and performing arts once we clean up a job description a little bit. So those are our only certified openings, are the ones that came sort of right as the start of otherwise we filled everything we had,
Right.
which not many districts can say.
No, that's a lot of hard work and we
Hey,
appreciate it.
just for folks who may not be familiar with this process, so 27, I think you said, may sound like a big number, but can you just speak for a second about how many we may typically hire in a school?
Yeah, I would say we've been between 15 and 20 for the last several years. We were at about this number last year. So this is not atypical for where we've been. And again, the fact that we thought we had filled all of our positions before there were some late vacancies. Trust me, I'm on the phone all the time with my counterparts in West Hartford and Glastonbury and Farmington, and we did well, we did very well.
Thank you.
Neil, a question. Are a lot of the new hires, are they coming from other districts in Connecticut or districts out of state?
It's a real mix. I would say when we do hire quite a few people who are not brand new teachers, they have a couple of years, and we are able to attract them after a few years in another district into Simsbury, so that represents, but we also have positions, you'll hear me talk about it with the opening report too, where they're harder to find positions, and you have to go hire veteran educators to fill them. So those, I would say, tend to be people from other Connecticut districts.
I have one question, but I think Sue's probably better to answer it. The woman who left or is leaving, I think she's gone this week, Sarah Sherry.
Sarah Sherry.
I'm pretty sure she's one of the first people that we had for the ASL program kicked off. And so are we okay then without, or how are we handling, I'm hoping that ASL program has continued to grow, and so now we are down to 1, and so is that?
It's a great question. Ms. Sherry was slated to teach one section of American Sign Language at the first level, and we have assigned that to our other teacher of ASL, Jillian Stugard, who is a part-time employee, and she's increasing her time, creeping up as the program grows. So we are excited that Jillian is able to help us out there, and she's very excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Great.
Okay. All right, then we are on to acceptance of gift from Latimer Lane PTO.
We have 3 gifts.
I love
Such a
gifts.
fun part of my role here at the Board of Ed. So the first is from the Latimer Lane PTO. It's a gift valued at $18,540. I just channeled my Bob Barker there. And it's for a 40-foot traverse wall in the new gym.
Wow.
So that is a gift that we are excited to have on the table for you this evening from their PTO. There's a motion there for your consideration.
Somebody want to make that motion?
Move that we propose gift of $18,540 to Latimer Lane School by the Latimer Lane School Parent Teacher Organization be approved.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That's what I'm thinking, we're gonna be having rock climbing classes
great.
at Latimer Lane.
Pretty exciting.
I won the squadron too.
That's amazing, that's great.
I
Thank you.
propose that we have a Board of Ed bonding at the new,
Yeah.
all administration included. Absolutely. And Superintendent Curtis will lead.
Model that climb. That's
Suggesting
Absolutely.
nurse be on staff, on site.
That's right. We can't suggest the nurse stays, yes.
You won't get Mr. Curtis away from the new basketball hoops.
Mr. Lizzetti will
All,
run the line.
all 6, I was actually in there today, they're all hung now.
Yeah, that's
The gym-
beautiful.
The gym
Is the floor in?
Not yet, the floor comes next week, but the gym is tremendous, and this addition is gonna be under, like behind and under one of the hoops, and then the pads are cool, like so that then when you play basketball, the pads actually go over the traverse wall. And
Oh, so nobody hits
yeah, and
the,
like hook over the top, so it's all.
It's the only consult I got on the whole project was the gym. Good
Well,
stuff.
you gotta go with your strengths.
Hey, very good. It's
We
exciting.
need to vote on this, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Latimer Lane PTO.
Awesome.
So we'll continue with another gift from the Terriffill PTO, and this gift is $3,000 to help defray the cost of the annual grade 6 Camp Jewel field trip. So there's another motion there for your consideration.
Can I just ask you, do we move Camp Jewel to grade 6
We did.
permanently?
We did.
Okay.
It was
I
a
feel like I've
switch
asked it
after
before.
COVID. We were doing a little bit of catch-up for students who didn't get to experience it. And then we just decided to have it live in grade 6 as a culminating experience. The students many of them are going in the fall now. So they go in the fall, have the bonding moment in the fall to carry
So
through
it
the
sets them up for the
remainder
whole.
That's the way it used to
I
be.
like that. Yeah?
Yeah, I think it works well.
That's
We
great.
give,
It was.
we give schools the opportunity, but the majority are going this fall.
There's also a lot of rain in the spring.
Although, there's been a lot.
Well, but it's not typical. It's atypical.
All right, go ahead, Jen, I stepped on
Okay,
you.
I will move the proposed gift of $3,000 to Terriffill School by the Terriffill School Parent Teacher Organization be approved. And I do think that is an amazing trip for all kids, so I think it's so generous of them.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
Great.
Thank you, Terriffill School PTO, because that definitely helps everybody.
Absolutely.
Love it. Wait, did I vote?
No.
No.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
And then the final gift for your consideration is from the company I2R, Imagination to Reality. And this donation is for a CNC machine, which is valued at $6,296. This machine is going to enable students to do some coding, to work with plexiglass, and really enhance their STEM lab at Henry James. So there is a motion there for your consideration.
How did we get in, or is that a local company, or how?
They made a connection with us, I believe, through Wendy Koo. What I'm finding is that there are these philanthropic components to many of these companies now, and they're looking to do these give backs. And we are one of the fortunate benefactors.
That's great. That's great. Can I get someone to make that motion, please?
Sure. Move that the proposed gift of equipment valued at $6,290, excuse me,
The magic glasses.
$6 to Henry James School by the I2R Imagination to Reality be approved.
And a second? All right. Any discussion?
if I could add
Oh,
something.
Pardon?
I just remember being in middle school and they made that whole new library space with the 3D printers and everything before or right after I left.
Of course.
Yeah, it's old people.
So it's great to see them improving that space, something that I didn't really experience in my time.
Maybe you can go back again.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
All right, can we get a vote on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
And our thanks to them as well. All right, so now we are on to school opening report.
Terrific. I guess I'm going to keep rolling here, Mr. Curtis.
Keep rolling.
You're
This is a
okay
little
with that?
little condensed because we
Missed a meeting.
missed a meeting. So we just wanted to share some of the important information about our kickoff, and then we have the high school presentation as well this evening. So-
Okay.
Terrific. So from the Office of Teaching and Learning, certainly, Sue, you mentioned a great convocation, and we really tried to pull out the superhero powers in all of our staff, but specifically the new staff. And Neil did a great job introducing all of the superheroes from their different halls of fame, as they were. So just a couple of pictures to kind of put us in that mood of teaching and learning. And we certainly, in my office, will continue always looking at our strategic plan, those 3 goals specifically of the strategic plan around student success and performance, around a compassionate and caring school climate, and around the premier workforce. So you will hear more from my office relative to these priorities, really making sure that the vision of a graduate is alive and well in everything that we do. We're looking closely at that achievement gap, and you'll hear and see a little bit more in our student performance results of how we're closing the gap between content areas, and now it's really looking at making sure that all of our students are performing at high levels. And as we do that, how do we ensure our staff and our students all have a sense of belonging? We know that's through our work in collaborative teams. You'll hear us talk about our PLCs, our professional learning communities, and the importance that we know that when teachers are coming together to talk about their instruction and their craft and to bounce ideas off of each other about how to respond when kids are doing well and when kids haven't hit the marks that we want them to achieve yet, what do we do in response to that? So that is definitely our work from the Office of Teaching and Learning. So wanted just to share with you a little bit about our performance data. As a reminder, we have standardized assessments that are given in grades 3 through 8, as well as grade 11. So that is SBA. Everybody's like, Sue, what happened to the C? They dropped the C in consortium. So now it's SBA in grades 3 through 8. So I'll share a little bit more about performance there. And then we have our next generation science standards, also known as NGSS. And those assessments occur in grades 5, in grade 8, in grade 11. And then we certainly have our SAT, the Scholastic Aptitude Test, which is given as an accountability measure, but also for college performance and entrance in some cases, and that's given in grade 11. So Maggie and her team will discuss more of the high school data in their report. So my little synopsis is going to focus on our 3 through 8 performance. So here we go. Here's ESPA. And I'm going to show you this in 2 different chunks. Kind of a roll-up of grades 3 through 6 and then 7 through 8 in both our literacy end of things as well as in our math. So in grades 3 through 6, some great performance. In ELA, we are ranked number 4 out of 20 DERGs, demographic reference groups, with 76.2% of our students at or exceeding what the benchmark is there. And in math, we've made some great gains in our math, 74% of our students. So not much of a percentage differential between those 2 rankings. What is really exciting is that there is consistent performance for the same group of students in both ELA and math. So you'll remember that just a couple of years ago, I was sharing with you that our students, same group of kids, weren't performing as well in math. And we've been putting a very focused effort on the instruction around math, what certainly that looks like, K-12, but we're starting to see those results here, 3-6. So we're very excited about that. On the middle school side of things, we have 2 number 5 rankings in our DIRG. That is a significant increase from last year, where our ELA, 74.4% of our students at or above goal. Math, we're still continuing to work on, but again, a significant increase. What I do want to point out is specifically in grade 5, they knocked it out of the park this year. They are ranked number 2 in ELA, number 3 in math. So things are happening, and we're getting it done in both areas. So these are nice tide changes that we're seeing in these results. In science, continue to do very, very well. A significant rank increase from grade 5. We were number 15 last year of 20 DIRGs. This year we're at rank 9, number 9. So almost 75% of our students at or above goal. Science in middle school got it done again, ranked 2nd in the DIRG. So very strong and consistent performance with grade 8, even better performance in grade 5. And Maggie and her team will have additional great news in science for grade 11.
Just out of curiosity on the SBA,
Yes.
so we were ranked in grade 7, 8, 5 at 66.4. Do we know what the percentage is for the school that ranked, or the district that ranked 1?
Yes, it's in the low 70s.
Okay.
So thank you for that question, because depending upon the year, it could be 0.1% between different ranks.
Right.
We still have some improvements we can make. There's no doubt about it. We're looking, and I'm sure you're going to hear from Mr. Baker, we're looking at that 6th to 7th grade transition. But our students that transitioned from 7th to 8th grade did quite well last year.
Thanks.
That's encouraging.
And that's it for me. Little quick summary, because you're going to be hearing more from the high school. So,
Thank you.
Neil.
Yeah, just a few things that we're gonna talk about, starting with new teacher orientation. You can see a couple of the pictures. If you look at the upper left there, you can see the capes up hanging from the rafters. That's where our superhero theme started. I do want to just clarify what Ms. Lemke tried to say, that it's not their halls of fame that these superheroes all have secret headquarters. And so what we did is we
This
introduced
is the
that.
man that didn't initially like the idea.
So what we did is we introduced each school at convocation is that we turned each school into a secret headquarter. So for instance, Central School becomes the Avengers Mansion. Squadron Line becomes the Batcave. Simsbury High School becomes the Hall of Justice. And all of it was very celebratory. Thank you for the theme.
Thank you for carrying it through.
To talk a little bit more
It's a
about-
process. It's a process.
No teacher orientation. It is a 3-day event, held mostly at Henry James, and then day 1 at Henry James, and then out for our tour. Day 2, more based in the buildings.
Yes.
And then day 3, depending on whether you're a new teacher or a veteran teacher. If you're a new teacher, you're with bullet number 4, their team training for novice teachers, and Jan Sands for year 1 and 2 teachers in the state of Connecticut brings them through a very important process to get used to orient them to the requirements of team. We have sessions, as you can see, around equity, special education, technology. So between Taya Bachelor, Katie Krasula, Dave Prinstein, we organize those sessions, and our famous bus tour that ended at Palmetto Farm and had excellent service this year, including from our board rep, Sophia Losetti, who was a great scooper, got us through very quickly. And sort of ended the year this year with a nice session around their remaining questions, and wrapped it up with a round table to make sure that as they were heading into the year, those lingering questions were still answered. So really great 3 days and a great class. So this is kind of that roll-up data I promised that you can see we actually hired the majority, a little over 50% of our teachers this year in that 0 to 5 years of experience. that is an effort where we are asking our principals to take a hard look at talented folks who are new to the profession. I wish I could tell you we're hitting it out of the park at the recruiting fairs. The recruiting fairs have really struggled since COVID. I mean, we used to be able to go to UConn or Central Connecticut and really meet a lot of people, and that's not as fruitful as it used to be. So Cindy Freelinger and I need to figure that out a little bit, because those local fairs used to be a real source of our recruiting of newer teachers. We're still finding them, they're still applying, so this data sort of encouraged me at the end, but just a little change in the marketplace over the last 4 or 5 years.
Are more people going online? Is that how you're?
Yeah, I think it's, because most districts use the system we use, the frontline AppleTrack system, because what it allows is you can turn applications into as many places, like you fill out one application and it covers you for a lot of districts, so I think.
It's like college.
Not that I'm going through this in any way.
Now that you're in college.
Yeah, so I do think that's where, can you just go back for half a second there? So the ones that are the more experienced, 22%, which are teachers really at the top of the salary schedule, those are those areas where they are very small pools, sort of hard to compete for. So if you go back and look at the other exhibit, it's mostly folks in special ed, hiring a business teacher, hiring a new theater teacher. I mean, you have to go out and pay for the quality in those pools. So that's sort of how that broke down. In terms of preparation, academic preparation of our staff, that's the next piece.
Neil, I'm
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just get
Sure.
you to flip back for a second? So with the majority of new certified staff being in that 0 to 5 range, does that, has there been a conversation within the administrators then that, you maybe need to
Mentor.
Mentor, yeah,
Extra
that's the
support.
word I was looking for, thank you, that, little extra support with
Yeah.
that group.
So
maybe
if you're in the formal team program, that happens very naturally through what Jan Sands does. But certainly other, a lot of those fall in our elementary principals, where they bring in a teacher with 3 to 4 years of experience. And it's the responsibility not only of the principal, but the math coach and the LAC, and then that grade level team to initiate that teacher into Simsbury. And that's a process that we pay a lot of attention to.
We also have building mentors, so they'll have building buddies that they can go to for the questions that they might want to ask a peer. So make sure that they're supported in that way as well.
Just in terms of looking at the other way salary schedules are framed, which is by degree completions. And you can see, we're actually seeing fewer people enter the profession with just a bachelor's degree. There's a lot more staying for a 5-year program to get that master's degree before they even come into the classroom. So, and that would be reflected in where you're seeing the majority now, just over 50% of our hires were with a master's degree already, and a much smaller slice of the pie with just the bachelor's degree. The ones that are the 6th year and 7th year with advanced degrees are, again, those more experienced people. Makes sense that that's how that breaks down. And then, of course, you'll hear more from me on October 1st, but I mean after October 1st at our next meeting, but I wanted to give you a little snapshot of enrollment.
I love that meeting. Can't wait.
The things
So-
that make you happy.
Long story short, you can see that we, this was the 3rd day of school, so I want to say that was September 1st, that we did a count and came to 4,115 students on that day, almost the same exact amount as last year on K to 6, a very slight increase 7-8, and the majority of that increase coming at Simsbury High School due to the small graduating class of 2023. That was a very a relatively smaller class that graduated in June. So that's where the increase comes. One more slide that has some of those highlights. So the increase is 51 students from last year. You will recall that we were projected at almost 150. So NESDEC did not knock it out of the park with the projection this year.
Right.
And when you, I'll give you a little tease on my October report. It was, they did not get the kindergarten number right at all.
That's what I was gonna ask you, was that grade specific?
Yeah, they were expecting a very, very large kindergarten, and we got what I would describe as a very average-sized kindergarten. So-
Is it deferrals?
It may be a little bit of that. I still have a little bit of analysis to do with that.
I look forward to the October meeting.
Yeah, but
See, just like Jen.
they will be able to see almost the entirety of the 94 students that they were off. They missed the kindergarten projection by about 80.
Wow,
Oh, that's a big number.
that's a big
Yeah.
number.
So, we knew it early on, and
Did you circle back to them? I'm just
we,
curious.
I did circle back to them briefly, but they told me to kind of wait it out.
Okay.
So we have another, we'll turn in this year's numbers to them. That's usually where the conversation happens.
Okay.
Like after you take this year's numbers and ask them to look, and, they're gonna know that their kindergarten number, it's based on that normal ratio of how many births did you have 5 years ago, and how many kindergartners should that have resulted in, and that ratio did not come true.
Is that ratio, is that 80 spread out throughout all of the schools so that we still ended up with the same number of classes?
Yeah, we have been at Squadron Line lately, some years with 5 kindergartens, we only got 4. And lately at Latimer, we've had some years with 4 kindergartens and we only got 3. All the others, I would say, were in normal range.
Okay.
So,
Neil, it's gonna be interesting with the new law coming in effect.
Yeah.
With the kindergarten, with the, what is it, August 1st? What's the deadline? Huh?
It will be December 1st.
September 1st.
September 1st.
Currently January 1st.
Right, so it'll be very interesting with NASDAQ's projections, when the new law
That will
takes
change
effect,
things.
what's gonna happen.
And that law's a done deal? That's
Yeah.
not
Yes.
special session,
Passed
that's a
and
done
signed.
deal?
Yes, it is, it's been batted around for
So
years and years.
that's
and now-
effective next year?
That will be effective with the incoming kindergartners, yeah.
So when you do that survey, it'll be
Small cohort.
by September 1?
Right.
Oh, that's gonna.
Right.
But some
Yeah,
people
that
might be aware of it this year already.
Pinch.
But we're getting
Through
ahead of
preschools.
ourselves. Let's say
Sorry.
2 weeks from now.
We don't wanna steal your thunder, Neil.
Jason, would you like to click for yourself, or would you like me to click?
Clicker extraordinaire.
Here we go.
Great. All right, so let's talk improvement projects. Latimer Lane. Happy to report that this project is currently on budget and on schedule. We're going to be moving into some new classrooms, actually ahead of schedule this go-around in the first phase. So December 1st, we're going to see some classes come online. And then the December holiday break, we'll see the remainder of that phase go online. So, next slide. Our bleachers. The bleachers are close to completion. We hope to see the press box coming in this week and the final completion happening next week ahead of the homecoming game. So it's been a long time coming, but we are getting there.
What are we, about a month behind?
About that, the original estimate was an August completion, so it's gonna be the first week of October, so yeah.
Okay.
A lot of challenges there. Here at the high school, we replaced the entire PA system, clocks, bells, phones. We're still in the process of knocking out some punch list items. A lot of moving parts on this project was certainly a challenge, but we are steadily working through that.
I'm sorry, I'm just on that, I'm just a personal kind of pet peeve, the phones when you call, whose voice is that, or where does that come from? The Simsbury School, like he says "the" in the beginning, which I have an issue with.
You want a new script?
So funny. Have you listened to it? You have to call him.
It's been a long time.
Yeah,
The previous script was actually recorded by Denise Smedick. This one, we asked who wanted to do it, and no one raised their hand.
Yeah.
The company that installed it did it.
Okay.
Oh,
Good, I'm not criticizing.
that's why.
Somebody is here.
Yeah, Neil, yeah,
Mr. Sullivan on the mic.
we'll re-record.
It's not recorded in stone, so it can be redone if we want.
It sounds like a silent auction opportunity.
Oh, it does!
PTC fundraiser.
I think that calls it.
On to Tooten Hills, where we have a pair of redundant boilers that heat the school. The one on the right actually had a crack in it over last year, so we were getting along with one of two boilers, and then this summer, we replaced it, all brand new under warranty. That project is completed. The modulars, if you were to go where the modulars used to be at Terrafil, you will find no modulars where they used to be at Terrafil. We're looking at an October opening for the new modulars that are in process. So we still have foundation work, and we're going to bring a crane in and drop in 4 pieces to build this thing.
And that's in a different spot than it originally was, or no?
It's a similar
Similar.
spot. It used to be sort of a V off of the back.
Yeah.
And now, you can see it in that picture, the top of the V is
Yeah, I
still
thought it was
in
over
picture.
that, right?
Yeah, that
Okay.
piece is gone, so the bottom half of the V is where the new ones were.
And they were worried about it all fitting, but somehow we figured it out.
Yeah,
It's not gonna fall down the cliff.
Brought in the surveyor and got it all straightened out.
The whole skunk families have to know where to
Yeah.
live now.
Permits are done.
They've better been evicted.
They've cleared off the area, moving along. For technology,
Smells like
we
mothballs.
did purchase our 800 Chromebooks that does our normal refresh for one-to-one, which gives our freshmen a new set each year, and the rest of the grade levels all kind of shift along. That's an annual slide. And then the year ahead, so the lateral lane school renovation will be a big part of this year. It is a end of 2024, December of 2024 completion date that we're still targeting. Central and Terrafil, we have some partial roof replacements that were actually funded through the previous budget cycle, but due to some different scheduling issues and working with the state, it was pushed off until this coming summer instead. Similarly, the central school electrical improvements funded in the last session are going to be a this summer project. And the Tooten Hills plumbing project has been a multi-phase project where we did some drainage work in the previous years. This upcoming year, we're going to be working on more fixture-related things, so water fountains, bathroom fixtures, those types of things. And then we have our other 6-year capital development planning items that will be coming up in future meetings and workshops with more network improvements are on the bill, as well as additional roof projects. And school buses will be a part of the discussion as well as capital discussion.
The delay in those projects won't impact the CIP next year, will they?
With
The delay in the roof and the electrical improvements, that's not gonna, you said some of that's pushed to next summer.
Just
Yeah,
to
it's,
complete the work. It's
Yeah.
already-
Just to complete.
It's already
it's al-
funded.
It's funded, it's
Yeah.
under, okay. Okay, just wanted to make sure that we were getting what we needed.
yes.
I mean, one thing we're taking a look at collaboratively is a 12-year plan to try to get away from the 6-year look a little bit, to have a broader conversation with the Board of Finance about the debt service limit.
Yeah.
We continue to run into that same bump in terms of debt service and kind of that fixed amount conversation. So how can we get some of these bigger projects, namely Squadron Line, and start to get a conversation of where that fits in time with the finances? I think will be an important thing for us to really kind of talk through this year.
As long as we continue to have some flexibility in those areas, right?
Yeah.
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 I think, Jason, you just mentioned the buses, and correct me, we delayed the buses, right?
Last
year.
Correct.
And this may be premature, but any insight on whether that puts additional pressure on this year, whether, typically we buy 1 to 2, I think we would need 3 this year. I'm just curious if that.
We want to definitely try and hit the 2 this year because we did miss
Right,
last time.
yeah.
It was more of a moving that window of expectation.
Anybody else?
We also consolidated some rugs over the summer, more, not because of the age of the fleet, but more because of the challenges of the labor market for bus drivers.
Yeah.
So, we basically went from 28 routes down to 26 routes. So that, in terms of how many buses you need, that could have a long-term gain.
But we're doing okay seat-wise, the buses aren't overcrowded.
Yeah, we got some tight elementary runs, so we may be looking to switch a few stops here and there.
Okay, all right. Great, thank you very much. Principal Seidel, you want to come on down?
All right, welcome, Maggie.
Should be.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to stand before you as the principal of Simsbury High School. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce my team that came here tonight to present, starting with Assistant Principal Ken Para, Assistant Principal Georgia Robert, and we have Director of School Counseling Greg Stillman. Vanessa Messiah is not with us tonight because she is home on maternity leave, but just wanted to acknowledge her as well. So wanted to begin tonight by sharing with you some accomplishments from the 22-23 school year. So just some highlights, there's several up here, but wanted to start out with the fact that Simsbury High School has been ranked by the U.S. News and World Report for 14th in the state of Connecticut out of 206 schools. And that really takes into consideration graduation rate, participation in AP courses, and then the actual performance on the AP test. I also wanted to share, as Sue had indicated, our NGSS, our science, for our 11th graders who are our current 12th graders, they performed really well. They ranked 3rd in the state of Connecticut and 1st in our reference group. So they are really knocking it out of the park with their science performance. I also wanted to share some of our other acknowledgments. We had 2 students nominated their stories that they put forth for Fox 61 News last year, so if you've never caught those, they really are incredible. Our choir was also selected to sing at the Radio City Music Hall, and then just wanted to share some athletic highlights with a state championship in boys crew, and then we also had 3 conference championships with boys hockey, boys lacrosse, and girls basketball. So very excited to celebrate all of those from the last year. In transitioning to this year, wanted to start and just share with you some of the things that we did in preparation for the new school year. If you noticed, it's not all the way done, but we put some new building signage. So the landmarks as you walk in the hallways, there are some signs that go throughout the building that all needed to be updated. And we also took an opportunity in the main lobby, there was a huge map that needed to be revised. So that was a big undertaking and it's still in process. But also wanted to highlight our custodial team. They painted this room, our cafeteria. We're still in the process of putting up some decals and things in the cafeteria to really show that school spirit. Another celebration before the start of the school, it's the 2nd year we've done the freshman first day. So under the direction of Ken Para, teacher Drew Warchut, and a teacher team, we are bringing in the freshman class on the Tuesday before school starts to give them the opportunity to acclimate to the building. And this has been a real success. It's been, some of the kids are like, wait a minute, we gotta go a day early? What do you mean? But in reality, they are relieved, they come in, they start in the auditorium, then they get to go through their schedule, end the morning with pizza in the cafeteria, kind of reuniting with their friends and seeing people. And we did give a survey to families, and 2 of the quotes, one came from one family that said, my freshman said she had a great time and appreciated the opportunity to be in the school before the first day to get comfortable with their surroundings, which was exactly our goal. And then another parent just said, having a freshman run through their schedule, find the rooms, all while they're not overwhelmed by the entire student body, is a great way to acclimate to high school. And they like the fact that their teachers were able to focus just on them that first opportunity coming into building to answer their questions, help them with their Power School app and all of those different features. And the last piece I just wanted to share are some pictures from our back to school barbecue. The administrative team cooked hot dogs, hamburgers, we had veggie burgers and watermelon. We were sweating, we were doing it out there. Nobody was sick the next day. So we were very happy. We had our grills pumping. So it was just a great opportunity to come together before the grind of the school year starts, outside, and just a really great celebration to kick off the school year. As we prepared for the school year to come, we really look at our work in these buckets: student growth and success, compassionate and connected school culture, a premier workforce, and the strategic and sustainable investments. So when we spend time in the summer, we're looking at all of our achievement data, our climate data, and really taking into consideration what all of that says to us in terms of developing our priorities. I'm going to speak to you a little bit about the climate data, and then Greg will talk more about the achievement data. But to begin, we wanted to take a look at some of the quantifiable numbers that came back from when we surveyed families, teachers, and students in the spring of last year. So as you can see from this, our teachers were sharing with us that they feel really engaged with their grade level or their department, with 81% agreeing or strongly agreeing. There's a Likert scale that's used. And then 59% feeling connected to the whole school. So that's something that we're really working on, and you'll see that in our priorities for this year. When we took a look at that quantifiable data from students, we looked at how they feel as though they belong at this school and student safety. One thing to note about school safety is that the marker for last year was 56% feeling like they strongly agree or agree that the school is a safe place. So this particular group of students with 72% feeling that sense of safety and always working on that sense of belonging, was 67% saying that they agree or strongly agree about feeling a sense of belonging. In terms of families, we looked at 3 indicators. Engaging academics, 74% agree or strongly agree that the academics are engaging for their children. And then again, around safety. To note, the year before, it was 50% feeling that sense of safety, with an increase to 75% this past spring when we surveyed again. And then communication. The communication, 77% feel as though that we are doing a good job in terms of communication on a regular basis, proactive, and trying to reach all families. So that's some of that information. We then took a look at the anecdotal data. We gave opportunities to our students, our teachers, and our families to share with us in a written format on some information, on some specific topics. And we've been really thinking about this through the lens of stories. What are our teachers trying to tell us? What stories are our students trying to tell us, and our families? And when we looked at this, we broke it into some themes. So when asked to the students, what would make school more engaging? We really found 2 themes that came through in their comments. And one was around opportunities to come together as a whole school. They're really missing that sense of a whole school community with more assemblies. And then the other theme came around how instructional activities can be happening in the classroom. They're looking for more project-based, for more collaborative settings. Less lecture. We talk about the producers and consumers. They want to produce more of their learning, while also understanding that sometimes lectures are important. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. What stories were our staff trying to share with us? When we asked them how we could improve staff belonging, it really fell into 3 themes. One was around visibility of our administrative team. They really want to see us. They want to connect with us. They want us to know the great things that are going on in their classrooms. The next one was really around time for them to connect as a department. They feel very passionate about that, but also how do they get to know each other in a large building? And it was really exciting to see. We did a team building at the beginning of the year, believe it or not. We did a rock, paper, scissors tournament. It was chaos in the cafeteria, and it was so much fun, but part of that activity was everybody interacting with each other and just really finding the joy in the connections across all of the departments. And the third theme was around support for new teachers. You just heard Neil talk about the number of new teachers, making sure that we have that support for them as they get through things like the beginning of the year with their professional growth plans, if they're taking on team, and then support for our special ed department as they need to navigate and twist and turn in order to support students along the way. And finally, our anecdotal data from families. How can we improve student safety and belonging? And that really fell into 3 themes as well. Recognition of diverse backgrounds and cultures. We're working on that with some of our student groups of reaching out and saying what cultures and things, what backgrounds do we want to celebrate. Having accolades for our clubs, our activities, and sports. Not just a sports themes, but noticing what other groups are doing. The bathroom came up as a topic around having that be safe and clean, and then really knowing that our students are being seen for their gifts and talents, to truly see our kids, to listen to their stories, and to really give them that opportunity to shine in their high school career. So that work drilled us into our priority areas around school climate, communication, and student achievement. And this is actually where I'm going to be turning it over to drill down into each of those areas, starting with Mr. Carroll.
I want to say thank you, Maggie. It's been a great transition with Maggie. I should point it out. We've all been very happy about that. You learn a lot about your team. Anyone who worked in a restaurant, we had that cookout, 200 people all of a sudden show up and they want to eat. You learn a lot about their team. Our team worked really well.
Stress test.
That may have fallen apart a little bit when Georgia beat me in the rock, paper, scissors. Times after that, but we were still together. So school spirit overall is certainly something that we have been focusing on, something that we're trying to build. I mean, I know it was important to Steve, but now we had constraints put around us in terms of how many people can be in a room together, how many, all of those things. So we're getting rid of those and trying to build up more of that. We had, it was reported out, Matthew reported out about the first, auditorium, the first, what was it? Assembly. Assembly of juniors and seniors were together. That's the first time we've done that in quite some time and did something like that. So that was very good and very positive. It was talked about, I think it's my next slide. Nope, let me go back. It was talked about school spirit next week, that we have our spirit week. They have the dress days. Monday's PJ day. Tuesday is Ken and Barbie day. Wednesday is Western day. Thursday will probably be the highest participation rate, and it's one that probably none of us experienced when we were in high school. It's anything but a backpack day. For some perspective on that, last year I turned the corner and 2 kids had a full canoe. Walking and we let them enjoy it for that period. That going away, but the kids get pretty creative. So we're doing that. Again, these are first steps. It's not a one-shot, one deal. We've talked a lot about that as a team of here are our first steps that we want to do. Let's see how these things go. Mr. Pinney's working very closely with his kids to talk about what is it that they want to see, and then we're trying to recreate that. So that's kind of been our focus overall on school spirit and bringing students together based upon a lot of the survey that we had. Another is communication, visibility about the team, that administrative team. We have been looking at the data. We've been very honest about it, what it says about us and how we approach that so people can be honest as well to themselves. And for us, number one, us being the admin team, is visibility. And it's a word that we didn't know what that means. It means visibility for one person can mean something different, so we actually drilled down deeper and asked our teachers to fill out a form, and they took it pretty seriously and gave us that feedback. And we, as a result, all of us have been in significant numbers of classrooms. We kind of used to be like, I oversee guidance in math, and I'd be in those departments a lot. Certainly we'll still be in that, but now we're just cross-pollinating across the way and going and seeing. And we've all been getting some wonderful feedback and emails from teachers, like thanking us for going in and talking to the kids for 5-10 minutes. It makes a big difference. It kind of pumps you up too, because you see kids doing incredible, awesome things. So that's something that we have been focusing on. Maggie is, if you haven't seen her Instagrams, you definitely should. She's driven every vehicle on this ground, on this campus ground, from the custodial cleaner to the golf carts and everything else. So that's another way we've been communicating ideas out through that in a fun way. And we've just started, we call them our, if you look at our calendars, it says we have boy meetings, all these boy meetings, beginning of year. Beginning of year meetings to talk to teachers about their goals and what they're going to be doing this year. And all of them are talking about ways in which they're going to be reaching out to their students' families, to their students. And there have been a lot of interesting conversations about different methods that some teachers have found to be very effective, are sharing it with each other. So that's what we've been doing. It's been very good. It's been a fun couple of months so far. I think it's a couple of months, maybe a month or so, but things have been going very, very well so far. So with that, I think I'm turning it over to Ms. Robert.
Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about our focus areas with our faculty this year. You heard Maggie talk a little bit about this idea of producers and consumers. Just to give you a little bit more flavor of what we mean by that, talking about situations where the students are not just kind of consuming the information and passively receiving it, but themselves being the problem solvers, the designers, the authors, the researchers, the performers. Maybe students are asked to work on problems that haven't been fully solved yet, or where there's maybe a lack of research in the area, and asking them to share their work with others beyond just the classroom teacher. So sharing that with the whole class or to larger audiences. So we've identified some high leverage strategies that you can see here: differentiation of instruction, so modifying based on who's in front of you, a real focus in inquiry. The social studies standards have just been revised. They're all about inquiry and kind of digging deep and looking and problem solving as a historian mindset. Reflection, authentic tasks, meaning they really have that real world value. So for an engineering class, like what would an engineer be doing? How would an engineer be looking at this task in front of them? Problem solving, higher order thinking. So teachers in their professional growth plan, so in those beginning of the year meetings, they're talking about kind of which of these high leverage strategies is a focus area for them. You see the NIASC logo there. Next year we would be starting our self-study. That's a whole nother, could be a whole nother meeting, but I will tell you, I did go out on a visit last year, and it has been revised significantly. The whole process has been revised. Anecdotally, some people are calling it a more humane NIASC experience. I would agree with that. I had the pleasure and opportunity to visit East Granby High School. It was a wonderful trip. So I'm excited about that work, and just want you to know that this is sort of all tied together. We're not talking a ton about NIASC. We don't want to drop that line at every turn and overdo it with teachers, but we're thinking ahead. Vision of the graduate. So we're always talking about the vision of the graduate. We're so excited about the vision of the graduate up here. This year, we're going to be reporting out formally to students and to families. We're very excited about this. This will happen at the semester ends. And students, depending on what classes and what the teacher is choosing to report out on, they're going to get what I would equate to almost like a standards-based report card that we see at the elementary level. It's going to really just kind of list out the competency, listens actively, and then give them a score, some feedback, some ratings, some explanation. So that is
You're doing that for each student?
Yes, so Power School, we're going through our main vehicle is always Power School. That's the vehicle that students and families at the secondary level really integrate well with and utilize constantly. So fortunately, our wonderful data specialists have been able behind the scenes to develop a system that will push it out through Power School. So it'll go to the contacts in Power School, they'll get these descriptors, and they'll get some feedback through that score. So we'll definitely be communicating that out to families via the listserv and sort of building up that understanding before it comes, but
Is that across all classes? Like, is it like a?
no, it's gonna be a little more organic in this first year, so there might be some students who get, say, 5 or 6 of these comments, and then there could be some students who maybe get 3 or 4, depending on the classes. So we really want to see how it goes in year 1 and look at what's fitting naturally in the different courses before we kind of develop a system that covers everything evenly.
Okay.
Okay, and just, if you remember, our capstone program is all built around the visionary graduate. So our capstone program is a true summative or end kind of cap assessment of the visionary graduate. All 6 competencies, all the attributes really come together in that project. So we're excited to start to, develop that system and dabble into giving that feedback to freshmen, to sophomores, to juniors, so that we're not getting all that feedback just at that capstone experience. So to that end, just some quick celebrations, because we're very, very proud and excited of the capstone work. So last year, 292 students completed capstone projects. 80 of them were student designed projects. Over 30 students participated in what we'll call real world experiences with local businesses, organizations, and programs. All Simsbury High School students and faculty attended the showcase presentations to learn from one another. So cannot thank Liz McKay, the mastermind, to do all of this enough. It was a big undertaking to truly design a system where the underclass students could be audience members and see those example projects and start those wheels turning of what might I be interested in down the road. So we pulled it off. It was phenomenal. Here are a couple examples. Tanner Jadovich working with Gilbert Plumbing for a semester. Great experience for him and for Gilbert Plumbing. Lexi Schwartz is with her mentor Nicole at Body and Motion Physical Therapy. And then Kevin Elliott, he did a presentation at the Historical Society, The Burning of Simsbury. So I could really talk about all 292, but I would not do that to you. But I do have to kind of just show one more, which I think gives another just flavor of the wide variety of things that we have. So you starting clockwise and going around, Brennan Metz and Declan Connolly, they presented their saxophone ensemble arrangement. So they went through music. That's our project Lead the Way engineering design and development class. So that final year of the engineering pathway, they're at the Connecticut Electrothon last April. Then we have Sophia Schultz receives an award from VFW for her fundraising and material donations. That little inlet there is Tyler Sinatro. He's presenting his project, manufacturing live edge tables. Beautiful, incredible. So many great projects out of our tech ed wing. Just the wood shop alone, I could go on and on. Jake Isakoff, you see down there in the middle on the far right. He is presenting his AP Research poster presentation. And then Emma Scudder and Heather Myers, they led a Tooten Hills mural. They created a train mural outside the art room with students. Elijah Love is pictured with his 3rd place architecture home design. We get very excited every year. Our kids do well at the Connecticut Home Design Competition. We have Devo Kai and Kaden Stefanik with the Farmington Valley Watershed. They were testing environmental impacts of water roadway salting, so runoff from the roadway. The watershed was very happy to have our students. And another highly successful community partnership, Sean Lawler, is here with the Simsbury Public Library. Teen librarian Mary Richardson, he did a tech with a teen. Very popular, so people could drop in and he would hands-on help community members solve their technology problems, whatever they might be.
That's brilliant.
So, all 292 were amazing. We're excited for a new year. I was just in the capstone classrooms the other day, and it was really fun to see that idea. They were doing the idea generation. So they were in small groups, and they were really just trying to get out as many questions as they could about their topics. And just every step of the way, I'm really inspired by seeing how our students rise to that challenge, take it on, drive their own learning. So really excited about that.
Georgia, I'm a little bit curious, and I don't know if you know the answer. The split between juniors and seniors who do the capstone?
I would say, I talked to Liz about this, I think we're averaging about 50 juniors will start and do that in the junior year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Okay, and now I'm gonna turn it over to our Director of School Counseling, Frank Stillman.
Thank you. In the next couple slides, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, give you some updates on how our class of 2023 did. And then we're going to talk specifically about the SATs. There's been some changes made to the SAT this year. Going to talk about those changes and what we're doing to help prepare our students for those changes. So it's long been one of our goals as a school to try to get as many students to have access to an AP class before they graduate. We're happy to see that number go up from last year. Last year we were at 68% of our graduates had taken an AP class. The class of 2023 had 78% of seniors take at least one AP class by the time they graduated. And that's more along the lines of where we were previous to last year. One of the areas of that number that we're really excited about is we've been really doing a lot to try to give access to students of color to these AP classes and really trying to encourage students to try an AP class before they graduate. This is the first time that students in the categories of Black, Hispanic, multiracial, and Asian all hit at least 70% of their students in those groups taking at least one AP class. So I'm really excited to see that growth in those numbers. And as the number increased to 78%, we still, of those students who are taking an AP exam, we're still getting 78% of students earning at least a 3 or better in their AP exams. So that's a really strong number. If you don't know, the AP is scored on a scale of 1 to 5. So to score 3 or better and have 78% of students do that is a strong number. In terms of our college success rates, we've changed the way we're rating our colleges. We, for a long time, used this publication called Barron's. Barron's kind of went out of publication 5 years ago, and we kept using their most competitive, very competitive groupings, and we decided after 5 years it's time to find a different way to rank colleges. So the U.S. News and World Report is a national ranking that a lot of people are familiar with. So what we decided was to break it down to the top 100 colleges on that list and then the top 50 colleges on that list and see how our students were doing getting accepted to those colleges. 51% accepted to a top 100, 13% accepted to a top 50. We were able to compare it to the year before, and it was very favorable to the year before in terms of acceptance rates. The next bullet, we actually saw an increase in students both going off to college and going off to four-year colleges. Overall, we had 87% of our students from the class of 2023 go off to college. The year before, we were at 84%, and the number of four-year colleges jumped from 74% to 81%. So I think we saw a little dip through some of the COVID years, and I think we're seeing a trend in the direction of more students attending college. And that said, we had students that also went off to do career education, military, employment, and take gap years and go on to transition education.
Do we know on that 13% or whatever that didn't go to a college of any sort, do we know like how did those kids like take a gap year and then just start a year late? Like, do we ever see, like, you know, are they in the numbers of how many graduate in 5 years? Like those people who maybe just took a gap year?
It's possible. Certainly the students who took a gap year and maybe went off to work, potentially
And then-
went to college the year after.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a little bit talked about in the next bullet, which is
Your 6-year
the
graduation.
6-year graduation rate, which is, it comes from the National Student Clearinghouse, where they track your graduates, how many of your graduates in a particular year graduated from college within 6 years. So if we have, 87% of students going off to college, we're pretty steady at about 75% graduate college within that 6 years. That's been a pretty steady number for us over the years. So we're always 6 years back on that data.
Are you seeing an uptick in kids interested in trade schools?
So interestingly, the class of 2022 saw a big uptake in career education trade schools. Class of 2023 didn't have as many. So we were seeing a trend in that direction. For some reason, last year's class did not have as many students that went off in that direction. But I would say for the most part, yes.
But that's something that they know is an option.
Yes.
We're making sure that's available.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think as comprehensive an education as we provide, we still have, if you go down to the tech ed wing here, we still have a robust opportunities down there for our students to try. And I think with the capstone, you'll also see students with internship opportunities and going that direction for their capstone. I think you'll see students that will continue to look at that as an option. All right, reporting on our SAT data. This is now looking at the current seniors, class of 2024. Every March, the state of Connecticut does an SAT school day where all students will take the SAT in school. And this is the data just from that test date. So you will see our reading and math scores were equal at 551 on that SAT day. We still are doing very favorably compared to Connecticut on average and the nation on average. However, we did see a dip in our scores in both areas from the previous year, where we were at 577 in reading and 563 in math. So this is something we've taken a look at. Already met with Sue and met with Maggie, and we're starting to dig into why this might have occurred. But also know, and I'll get into this in one of the next slides, is there are going to be some changes to the SAT. So it's not as much about looking back as to why this happened as to looking forward as to how we can go forward with the new changes and be ready when those come about.
Can you tell us how they're changing it?
I will do that.
Were there similar?
It was coming. Sorry.
Were there similar dips in the Connecticut and the national numbers year over year as well?
I didn't look into that.
Okay.
Yeah, that ours more so
Definitely
than
Connecticut, because
Yeah.
I've looked at that explicitly. I cannot say with 100% certainty about the national.
And last year was the first year that the SATs were digital, right? Or
This
not?
will be the third year that the SATs will be digital for us. The state of Connecticut went a little bit earlier than the rest of the nation, but this will be year number 3.
So you're, sorry, I'm old school. No more bubble sheets? You're doing it all online?
So this is the first year. The PSATs are going to be given on October 11th. All 3 grades will test digitally for the PSAT, the SAT in the spring. The in-school SAT has been digital. You can still do paper and pencil on the Saturday test, but that will be no longer. And even some of the AP testing now has been digital. We had 7 tests last year that were digital.
Right.
So one of the big differences is it's going to be a shorter test. So it's always been a 3+ hour test. It's going to be 2 hours and 14 minutes, which is going to be the same as the PSAT has always been shorter than the SAT. Now, the PSAT for 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, and SAT will all be 2 hours and 14 minutes going forward.
Is that fewer questions?
So fewer questions and actually.
No, less time to answer them.
But fewer questions changes your scores. I mean, that's
The people that have
good.
piloted it have said that you actually have more time per question to answer, that you can go at a little bit slower pace. There's changes to the reading section. Some of those changes, shorter reading passages. It used to be 1 long reading passage with about 4 or 5 questions per reading. Now it's going to be a short paragraph with 1 question for each paragraph.
Oh, wow.
So I think that'll be helpful. They're gonna go back to more vocab, more grammar. There's gonna be more poetry embedded. There's actually gonna be some science that's gonna be part of the reading comprehension, and a little bit of social studies as well.
Did they
test-
did they get rid of writing as a
So
section?
the writing is there's no writing section, but the writing components are embedded into the reading section now. So there'll be grammar that's embedded into the reading. The test is adaptive, so what that means is you're gonna have a reading section. The first portion of the reading section, there's gonna be some hard questions, easy questions, medium questions. Depending on how you do on that section, the second part of the reading section will either move you into a more challenging reading section or a less challenging reading section. And then your score will be, if you're in the more challenging reading section, your score can be higher than if you're in the less challenging reading section. But the way they do that, so they can make it a shorter test and give you less questions and still give you a score that they believe is indicative of how you're performing. And then, as we mentioned, the digital test is taken on the student's Chromebook, which it has been for the in-school SAT the last couple of years, but it will be for any SAT now going forward, as well as the PSAT. All right, so really, what are we doing as a school to help prepare our students for the upcoming changes? We're starting with the PSAT on October 11th. Again, this will be the first time the PSAT is done digitally in all grades, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Students are familiar with digital testing. They did the SBA digitally in the last few years, so they're actually a little bit more familiar than the teachers proctoring it. But we're all becoming more familiar with the PSAT as a digital format. We are looking to get professional development for our teachers to understand the changes in SAT. And what we're doing is, you'll see there the College Planning Partnership SAT prep class. We have used this prep class for about the last 8 years. It's a group that has outreach to different high schools, and they offer SAT prep for a discounted rate. It's still an expensive class, but it is a discounted rate for specific schools. So the gentleman who runs this program reached out and offered to come in and do an in-service on October 25th. We have a half day, and in the afternoon, he will be meeting with our English teachers, science teachers, social studies teachers, as well as myself and some of our assistant principals, to really talk about the changes and how you can help prepare your students for the changes in the SAT. We'll be meeting with the department supervisors to review the data from the previous SAT and kind of talk about, again, how can we help our teachers to help our students learn best as we prepare for the upcoming changes. We'll still continue to offer the SAT prep, and speaking with the gentleman who's going to be coming in and doing the professional development, they've already changed their SAT prep class. They are already way ahead of the curve, and already in the prep that they're doing for students have already started to do the prep for the new adaptive SAT class, for the due SAT test. And then all this will build up to the SAT school day that will be given on March 20th this year for our junior class. So it'll be interesting to see with the changes with the preparation, how we do with this class on this the new SAT.
I had a quick AP question on that, and I don't know if it's for you or Sue. What percentage of the 2023 took 2, 3, 4, 5? Do we track that? How many APs they've taken?
We have the data of that. We don't have it off the top of my head, but we do know how many.
Because I would be also interested in the ones that only took one. What one was it? Do they majority fall to one class, and which and why?
Yeah, we can certainly.
For curriculum meaning.
Yeah, 100%, get you that data. We've expanded our AP offerings, as you know, as a member of the curriculum committee, and we want to see where kids are signing into and exploring.
Yeah.
I know that in junior year, a lot of people take their first AP in junior year because
They're forced to.
because there's no honors English, so a lot of them will take AP language or AP US history.
Yeah.
So remember my testing days for those, there was like 4 different testing rooms, whereas on my other ones, there was only like 2 or 1.
Yeah.
Sophomore year, there's a lot less people who take APs, but the people who do usually take seminar. And by senior year, a lot of people take Physics 1. That's my experience.
Good point.
Just to close, I wanted to finish by saying Simsbury High School is preparation, passion, and personal growth, the 3 Ps. And when we step back, we can see these 3 Ps within our vision of the graduate, within our social emotional skills, and within our rigorous curriculum. Just wanted to reiterate that our goal this year is to listen, to learn about the stories of our families, our students, our teachers, and to continuously grow. We're just really excited for the 23-24 school year, and I want to thank you all for listening to our presentation tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vince.
Matt, I just want to ask, like, how are you guys feeling now with the start of the new school year and all the new energy? Are you noticing a difference over last year?
In regards to what
Just sort of the
specifically?
way it feels being in the building and sort of, no pressure. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I don't watching it, especially with everybody.
Yeah, the principal is in the room, so.
You know, this is why you're paid the big bucks. This is what we want to know.
Yeah, I feel like, well, me personally, I feel like I've learned a lot more about the administrative duties and all that. That might be just because I'm on the board now.
Maybe.
I'm surrounded by that environment, but I feel like there's been more discussion of that just with teachers and the social media and everything. So, like, I didn't know all the assistant principals and counselors and everything last year or the year before, but I'm more familiar this year. Classes and everything seems to be about the same.
I know I'm only one parent, but I wanted to say that I thought it was amazing that somebody made up parking direction signage. I loved it, because I was yelled at the first time I ever came here, and so I loved it. And then, Georgia, I have to call you out, because specifically I have seen you a number of times out front meeting kids and going out, which I thought was awesome. And 2 teachers actually called me already before the open house to say hello and just introduce themselves, which I thought was very nice. I didn't remember that with my others. So, thank you. Kudos to you.
Cool.
Good changes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Great job. Amy gets the year-end
Amy.
Yeah. Oh, we're all ears on this. It's our favorite part.
I know. All right, so just on the revenue side, I'm just gonna talk through the excess cost a little bit. Our final award was about $2.3 million. Our reimbursement last year was about $1.8 million. This is an increase of about $500,000, which is, good and bad. So more kids are hitting the threshold, so we are able to get some of that reimbursement back. But as you may recall, with the excess cost grant, we have to spend 4.5 times our per pupil cost in order to even get reimbursement, which is about $90,000 per student. So even though we are getting money back, additional money is going out. That's all I have for highlights on the revenue side. On the expenditure side, I'm just going to touch on the highlights of where we landed at the end of the year. Nothing should be new. It's mainly what we reported out in the prior report, and where we were seeing our major variances. Within our instruction, we came in to the good about $214,000. You can ignore that footnote in the reporting. That was the draft report before I had moved some of the money. So we are actually to the good on instruction. The reason for being good to the $214,000, a little bit of salary savings, and then also our spending freeze during the year generated that savings. Going down to the pupil transportation, we were over budget by about $489,000. We had an increased number of special education outplacements that had required transportation. Our current vendor unfortunately couldn't accommodate all of the additional outplacements, and we had to go outside of that vendor for services, which is way more costly than our current vendor. In addition, we had seen an increase in fuel costs during the year. So this is something that we saw this year. We didn't really see it last year on the transportation side. And we're looking for this year, as we do our preliminary estimates, we're keeping an eye on that transportation for fiscal year '24 as well. Moving on to our insurance and pension, we were to the good about $361,000. Our OPEB fund is 100% funded, and therefore we did not have to make our OPEB contribution. So we were able to utilize some of the insurance and pension savings related to that to offset some of the deficit. And then on our out-of-district tuition, this is in line, the out-of-district tuition, we were over budget by about $594,000. This is in line with what we had discussed in the prior quarterly reports. It's also why we increased our special education funding for fiscal year '24, where we were seeing those measures consistent from fiscal year '22, and increased our budget by that $500,000. So overall, our deficit for our total budget was about $550,000. So we had a couple of revenue offsets to get this deficit down. You may recall during the budget process, the town ARPA funding funded 2 of our social workers, so that's a $225,000 offset. We had some increased tuition revenue to the tune of almost $200,000 this year. We had increase in building rental fees as we're coming out of COVID. That was about $62,000. The Board of Finance at the end of last fiscal year had put aside money of about $100,000 related to energy costs, because we knew that we weren't going to be within our contract at the beginning of the year. We were going to exceed budget, so that's about $75,000. And then we received a small non-public grant in the current year of about $20,000. So utilizing all of those revenue offsets to go against our expenditures, we are actually able to hold our balance, and we do not need to utilize any of our non-lapsing funds.
Wow.
Well done.
A little bit better in regards to what we reported out in the last quarterly, where we thought we were about $600,000 to $700,000 in deficit.
That's great.
And really an eye forward, as Amy mentioned, to this transportation challenge, right?
Yeah.
It's a market-driven challenge with capacity for Salters, as well as the increase in some of these placements. So monitoring that, prioritizing what runs Salters is taking, what runs we go third-party with, and really digging into that will be important this year.
Do we have an increase this year over last year of outplacements?
Not at this point.
Are we the same at this point?
We're the same at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I would love to see us try to get through a year without having to do a spending freeze.
Yes. Yep.
That's,
And I don't know if you can answer this, but I was gonna ask about the transportation, we heard it from Neil, we heard it from Amy, and Matt, you just commented on it, just
Yep.
any, if it starts spiraling like it has in the past, do we, like, what are we thinking? And, I mean, do we have a plan B? Is it contracting with another vendor, an additional vendor? Like how do we think about?
I mean, two
navigating?
things, continuing to have conversations with other vendors. The difference is you get a vendor has been committed to us as Salters, and you have an outside run, for example, to an outplacement facility, and you have 3 students going there. JR gives you the cost to travel 1 student. You have to go to an outside vendor, you get hit for that cost 3 times, even though they're coming from the same place.
and they're going in the same van.
Yeah,
I
so,
wasn't talking about replacing them.
yeah, no, so the key to that is, it's a constant relook at the prioritization, right? What if you have a third-party run that's going an extra distance, what is that costing us? And are we better off trading that with a local run, where JR takes the longer run? And it's just kind of having more eyes on that, a little bit more commitment to continually analyzing that third-party piece, because it's not something we ever had to deal with before.
Right.
Yeah. And JR, I mean, Neil's in constant communication with him about trying to expand his fleet. It's a real challenge. It may be something we have to grapple with in the future in terms of how we help him support his drivers too, so.
Because that's
Yeah.
more of the issue is,
Yeah.
is getting the drivers
Correct.
than getting the vehicles.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically, you're in a market right now where he's only getting them if he can steal them from First Student or MJ or like, that's the market right now. Can you attract somebody from one of the other companies to come to you?
And and they've been so good and so, it's just we're very fortunate to have had this, to have the Salters.
Absolutely.
And the safety and the carefulness,
Great
yeah.
job.
Does Salters do all of the sports kids or activity kids too?
Used to do more than he's able to now, due to the driver shortage. Just met with this last week. We are trying to, the real pinch, he can do anything that's after 3:30. So actually, like, night games and lights and winter help, because you play, like, varsity games might be at 7 at night. He does, Salters does all of those. The pinch is when, in the spring and the fall, in order for a 3:45 game, the bus has to leave Simsbury High at 2:20, and he doesn't have excess drivers. He has to cover all the routes and vans. So he doesn't have other drivers to take people to Hall High School for a soccer game.
Right.
So he's only got 1 or 2 per day, and so it's a little bit of a combination of, could he find 1 or 2 more people, or can Jeff Pinney move some things out of the crunch window, so that we don't need to be traveling at that time when the buses have to be getting kids home from school.
Right.
Many moving parts. Oh, literally and figuratively.
All right, anything else? All right, then that brings us back to our second public audience.
Hi.
You remember the drill.
Hi, I'm Lori Boyko, 15 Oakhurst Road. I first wanted to say I'm really sad that more parents were not here tonight, because I feel like the board went out of their way to be communicative and detailed, and I'm hoping that more people will watch it online, because I really appreciate the detail that was in this meeting. And I just wanted to share with the board a couple of observations, because I don't know that the board always hears things that, just in conversations that parents have, or things that bubble up. And I wanted to share a couple of observations from the beginning of the school year that might, when teachers do something that might seem to be designed to be including all students, in practice, they can actually sometimes make many more students uncomfortable or confused. We all know that actions, well-intended actions, can sometimes have unintended consequences. So while trying to engage or acknowledge small groups of students, sometimes other students can be alienated at the same time. So I'm going to try and give you an example, and I'm going to try and do it discreetly. At the beginning of this year, there was a health class that had a names quiz. I don't know why juniors need their names quizzed, their classmates' names in a quiz, but that's what was in health class. And in that quiz, you got pictures of your classmates, and you were supposed to write their name down. That was the extent of the quiz. It was graded. And there are students in that class that have changed their names. Some of them have a legal name and just a nickname that they go by. Some of them have actually changed their names that they request to be called. And this makes it really awkward, I think, for the student who may have changed their name that's on the quiz. It was also very awkward for students that know students as one name, now they have to have another name, and then I found out that in another class they were called a third name. So it's more about being mindful. I'm not mad. I just want people to be mindful that while we're trying to include people, other people are getting confused and in some cases graded on this. So like, why are we even having this quiz? Also, in another class, there was a getting to know you questionnaire by a teacher. And in the getting to know you questionnaire, there was very personal information that was asked. And I understand that the teachers don't mean harm. They're trying to acknowledge students. But there were questions asked like, what are the names and ages of the people that live in your home? Well, everybody has different family compositions, and a lot of people are not comfortable sharing that, but all information needed to be completed on the question to be a complete assignment. And then, the question, what pronoun do you use in class? What pronouns do you use outside of class and at home? So I just wanted to share with the board some of the things that students are experiencing that might be confusing, that might be inadvertently sending messages that are not intended. I don't think there's ill will meant. I just think people need to be mindful of that. And people are aware, but I think the board sometimes needs to hear things too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that, our next board meeting will be Tuesday, October 10th. We will be at the Board of Ed conference room. And I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Beat you.
All those in favor?
I know.
Aye. Thank you all.